What up, folks? Joe here, and welcome to the Kyber Culture episode 110. Got a packed episode for y'all today, a super collab pod, if you will. Today I'm joined by Hayden Koutras of the Dive In Moviecast. Welcome back, Hayden. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. It's like 6 months flew by without me being on this pod, and I just don't know how.
Has it really been 6 months? Holy shit.
It's deeply disturbing, but I'm doing good. It's great to be back.
Awesome. Good to have you back, man. And then also got a couple first-timers with me on the Kyber Culture that I'm ecstatic to finally have on the show. First off, we have Chris, Officer of the Black Stubs. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, Joe? It's great to be here. We talk a lot over Instagram. Been following each other for about almost 2 years now. You're a great support. I'm a big fan of Kyber Culture since age narrative days. Yeah.
Oh, damn, the age narrative days of first.
Yeah, throwback.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you, man. Happy to have you on. And of course, we have Mr. Sean Mott of Metalcore Nerds. Welcome, my friend. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Hey. So happy to be here with all these great human beings. It's gonna be a good time.
It's gonna be fun. On the docket today, we're just going to chat a little news, then get into giving our most anticipated shows and movies of 2023. Going to do 5 shows and 5 movies, maybe with some honorable mentions at the end. But stick around. Make sure to follow the Kyber Culture on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. All the links are in the description. And if you like what you're listening to, please consider leaving a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd really appreciate it. But before we get started, let's just take a quick break for some ads. And we're back. So first news topic I want to chat with you guys about. We got this is the second Quantumania trailer, the third film in the Ant-Man series. I thought it looks like a trip, an absolute fucking, like, I want to go to this like off an edible or something like that. It looks just visually like ridiculous, but I mean, you just really have to talk about Jonathan Majors in this. He's gonna be whooping Paul Rudd's ass for like 2 hours. It's gonna be hilarious. I imagine Scott's just gonna be dying like multiple times in this just because of like the multiverse, and like, I mean, you see multiple copies of him all the time, and they're all just gonna get wiped out, and it's gonna be hilarious. But yeah, no, this trailer was awesome. Kang is finally here. All aboard the Kang train.
Kang train.
Kang train, baby. But Sean, let's go with you first. What did you think about the Quantumania trailer?
Since the Loki show, I've been hyping the Kang train, and we're fucking here. We're at the station, ready to leave. And Jonathan
all
Majors
aboard
is about to fuck everyone up. I said this like a few times to some people, and they're like, "You really think Kang's going to be as big a threat as Thanos?" Dude, Thanos was on like a spiritual journey for balance. Kang is here to fucking conquer, and he is going to conquer everyone. I loved how this trailer felt. Obviously super dire, especially for an Ant-Man movie, but Peyton Reed kind of came out and said, he's like, hey, we've kind of been the palate cleansers for the first 2 movies. We want to be an event movie. And one of the producers even came out and said, like, this is going to be as essential to the MCU as Captain America Civil War was. And I mean, I believe it looking at this trailer. Like, I think regardless of Scott Lang dies or whatever, gets trapped, he's not going to win. Kang's going to win in this in this movie. How he's going to win, what he's going to do is left to be seen, but it's not going to be a happy ending at the end of this one. That's for sure. So I'm stoked. I love it. I'm super. I was already hyped for this movie, but this brought it up a level for me. Just being a Kang heavy and the tone being so dire, and just, you know, I love Marvel when it gets serious. I like goofy Marvel too, but yeah, at its best when it's serious, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Chris, what about you?
The first trailer we got, or I guess the teaser a few weeks ago, was just flashes and images to get us excited. It's a teaser. The new one is a bit more plot heavy. We now have a better idea as what the deal is between our hero and our antagonist. There's something, it's interesting, you know, as powerful as Kang is, as the new Thanos, the idea that there's something in the quantum realm that still eludes him, and he needs Ant-Man's help to get small enough to find it, is really interesting. And then the deal they make, because Scott was in the quantum realm for 5 years, avoided the snap, but he missed 5 years of his daughter's life. So to come back now and be like, well, this guy's offering us a chance to get all that back, because I wasn't even in prison. I was trapped doing heroic stuff, and I still missed so much of my daughter's life. And she's like a teenager now. Last time we saw Cassie, she was 8 years old. So the deal between Ant-Man and Kang for me is very interesting. And like Sean said, it is very dire. You can feel the stakes. It's definitely, you can feel it from the trailer. It's darker than the last two, which were very comedic because Paul Rudd, I don't know if he writes, but he definitely produces these movies, and they're very funny. Ant-Man and the Wasp got overshadowed by Black Panther and Infinity War in 2018. It was the third and final movie of that year for the MCU, and it just was not. It did not hold a candle to what we just saw with Infinity War and Black Panther. So to see it now, as the producer says, he wants this to be an Avengers level kind of movie in the MCU. It's very exciting. We love Paul Rudd. He makes us laugh. He's aging incredibly, but Jonathan Majors, just his trajectory is going up and up. And I do feel like Scott might die a few times in this movie. We didn't see what was released at Comic-Con, but there's footage of Kang saying, "Ant-Man, have I killed you before? Like an Avenger? Like have I killed you yet?" Like he's done this so many times. It's easy for him. So it's dark. The stakes are high, and between this and Guardians Volume 3, I don't know. There's so much going on.
Nice. Hayden, what about you?
At the risk of like sounding like an echo chamber of everybody else, like you could stop this conversation at Jonathan Majors, right? Like you could ride that hype all the way to the movie, and I think he's just on such an upward trajectory for his career. He's proving himself to be one of our biggest and best stars right now. And this is going to be such a fun role for him to really sink his teeth into, especially after seeing him play He Who Remains and Loki, watching the differences and the little subtleties in his performance as this variant of Kang is going to be super interesting. And as everybody has said too, like the idea of giving Ant-Man this big epic movie where so often he's kind of just been everything was just gone to shit. Let's just laugh at Ant-Man for a little bit. And I think the idea of using his powers, him as a character, and the quantum realm to set up this big overarching narrative with Kang that's going to be what we're riding with for the next few years of the MCU, I think is really exciting. And I think that this trailer does a great job clearly setting up what we're in for. Whereas the first one kind of gives you a little bit of breadcrumbs and it lays out the foundation. This one is like, no, this is Kang and Ant-Man. This is their movie. And I think that that's really interesting. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's closing in very, very quickly.
It is coming so soon. And I think what I like about what I like the most about this is the way that they're setting up Kang for the next few phases, because for Thanos, all we really got for him was like a quick snippet of him at the end of like some Avengers movies, or like a quick scene of him in Guardians 1. Kang is full on getting his own movie. Like I feel like this is like Kang's movie more than it is like Ant-Man's. I really like that they're introducing him in this way. I hope he's great. I'm curious about like what his like motivations are. Marvel does do those villains pretty well. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, I remember I went to go see a movie and I saw 3 different trailers with him in it. I was like, damn, this man stays working.
That's the guy.
Yeah, so he's awesome. But yeah, so that's a Quantum Mania trailer. Let's talk Beau is Afraid. Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid. So I've only seen like Midsommar and Hereditary, and I haven't even like watched those like multiple times, but this one honestly, like it still feels like, has that horror stuff to it. Like all 3 of these movies seem very separate from each other, it just looks odd. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, it looks like a fucking trip, and that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so Chris, let's go with you first. What did you think about the Beau is Afraid trailer?
It was cool. Admittedly, horror is not my go-to genre.
It's not mine either.
I have not seen Hereditary, but I did see Midsommar 2019. My girlfriend and I, we wanted a horror movie to watch because we were staying in, weren't doing too much, and we chose the wrong horror movie.
I was going to say perfect date night movie.
Yeah.
Visually, narratively, but with this one, we like. Oh my gosh, Joaquin Phoenix. He's great. He's one of those actors who gravitates to the weird movies, to the odd, but it comes out in April. It doesn't seem as bad. I don't think there'll be visuals as bad as a bear suit or being dissected and like hung up by your we'll see. I'll give it a chance. We'll see if like anything else comes from it, like a second trailer, any other news, but I might give it a chance. A24, for the most part, I really enjoy all the wild creativity, all the originality. But when they go dark and obscure, and that kind of throws me off.
Hayden, what about you?
Oh man, I'm really excited for this movie. I'm a big fan of Ari Aster, and I think that there's nobody who's making depraved horror content like him right now. He's so good at selling misery in his horror movies. Hereditary, I mean, that movie's up there in my favorite horror movies of all time. I think it's just truly a twisted movie and a great drama at that too. No, The Beau is Afraid looks like he's going far more in a comedic direction, even though it's still got its horrific elements to it. He's described it as a nightmare comedy, and I think that sounds pretty effective to describe the movie that it looks like we're in for. It looks like it's going to have tons of freaky imagery, still thrilling stuff, but it's going for kind of a more quirky, kind of fun tone to it. So I'm glad that he's not just the type of director to keep making the same thing over and over. The fact that he's at a point in his career, just after 2 movies, where he's willing to try something different and go for a weird swing like this, I'm all for it, and I'm really looking forward to this movie.
Nice. Sean?
I'm so stoked for this movie. I was already stoked with the names Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix before I even saw a trailer. When I saw this trailer, I was like, fuck yeah, sign me up for this weird ass adventure we're about to go on. Yeah. And I will say, I think this trailer might be misleading to what the movie actually feels like, because I'm pretty sure I ended up catching Hereditary like years after it came out, but it is also one of my favorite horror movies too. That movie is just batshit crazy in the best way. And Midsommar is too. It's so weird about I saw that in theaters, and I still don't really know how I feel about it. But it makes me feel things. So I'm like, it did its job. I remember the marketing for that one, and I'm pretty sure the marketing for Hereditary had much different vibes than what the movies actually ended up being. So I think this trailer is going to be a little misleading for what the tonal vibe might be. I feel like they went with like a jokey trailer to kind of trick people. Maybe. I could be wrong. I do
think that's interesting. I think you might be onto something.
Because I think the movie is going to be a lot darker and twisted than that trailer led on to be. I still think it's going to be like trippy and weird and wild as fuck, like the trailer promises. But I do think the tone might be a little different. And I'm very excited to see if that ends up being the case, for sure. Either way, I'm all in. I'm good to go. I'll be seeing it in theaters for sure.
I almost skipped the trailer for this one because I didn't need anything more than Joaquin Phoenix and Ari Aster. Like that kind of had me in the seat already, but I decided to watch the trailer anyways, and I don't regret it. I think it's not spoilery. It kind of sets up what you're in for without giving you too much at all. Yeah. And I think you might be onto something about, I don't think Ari Aster's going to make a full-on comedy or something that's fun to watch with your friends. I think he's a pretty weird dude, and I think that there's something hidden underneath the surface of this trailer for sure.
You know, I wonder why they went with the title change, because initially this was Disappointment Boulevard. So
I think that's a better title. So we'll have to see why the name has been changed.
I think it was originally called Beau is Afraid, then it switched to Disappointment Boulevard, then it switched back, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is weird. Even weirder, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No idea.
Strange. Well, yeah, that's Beau is Afraid. Yeah, I don't have too much on that one, but I'm in regardless. So let's talk about the Golden Globes. My highlights for me, of course, are Ke Huy Quan and Michelle Yeoh. His fucking acceptance speech gets me every time. It's so good. Like he starts it out just saying like, oh, like I just want to thank Steven Spielberg, and then he goes on to talk about like, oh, like my first role in the Temple of Doom. Then everyone knew, like everyone applauded him right there, and it was just awesome. And I didn't even realize this at first, but he had like the little like googly eye thing attached to his tux. I was like, yo, that's sick. I love that. But I honestly think like, I don't know who is gonna like take Best Supporting from him at the Oscars, but I think this is a lock for him.
I do too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an easy lock for him. But let's see, Michelle Yeoh. I mean, obviously the best thing about her acceptance speech was like, because they tried playing her off, and then she straight up told him like, no, shut up, I'm gonna keep talking, and they stopped playing the music.
She threatened to kick their ass.
I can beat you up.
Yeah, exactly. What a queen. Yeah, but Michelle Yeoh is awesome. Yeah, those are my highlights. But Hayden, what were your favorite moments from the Golden Globes?
I mean, I've shared Ke Huy Quan's speech on the Dive-In about 4 times now, and I don't have any regrets about it. I think I'm just going to keep sharing it every day. Just be like, hey, happy Monday. We're starting our day with the speech. Genuinely just very moving stuff. Same thing as you've said with Michelle Yeoh. But I think there was a lot of really funny moments with Gerard Carmichael as well, who I'm a fan of his stand-up work. And I think the way he kind of ridiculed the Globes and he didn't let them off for their history was very important, especially if they're just going to try and put themselves back on TV and kind of shrug everything off and be like, are we forgiven now? To have a host who's actually willing to kind of go in on them a little bit was interesting to see. I also just think that this kind of spells out a pretty clear Oscar race going forward. Cate Blanchett's probably going to win Best Leading Actress, despite the fact that I'm rooting for Michelle Yeoh. I think Ke Huy Quan and his energy and the way he's doing this campaign has pretty much put him in as a lock for Best Supporting Actor. I do think the Fabelmans might have got a little bit of a bump with the tension. And as you had mentioned earlier, we were talking about how Banshees of Inisherin might be having a little bit more love coming away from this ceremony as well. But I don't know. I think it was a pretty good award show that didn't have any really crazy or surprising wins, but a lot of really nice moments between celebrities and nice speeches and stuff throughout the evening. So I was glad I watched it.
Yeah. And just since we're talking about like Best Picture wins real quick, I'm writing for Everything Everywhere All at Once, like, of course. But the only thing that's telling me like, oh, it's not going to win is because thinking of like the Academy voters, a lot of them are like, old. And I feel like this is like a very like younger person movie. And like, I can't imagine like grown up, like sitting through the movie, watching dudes like trying to shove something up their ass and like people fighting with dildos. Like I imagine they're turning that shit off like immediately. And like they won't be able to pay attention to the rest of it. But yeah.
I feel like the second the old people see the hot dog fingers shooting ketchup and mustard, and they're gonna be out of here.
Yeah.
But to their credit, the Daniels have run a pretty good campaign for this movie. I think they've told a pretty moving story that everybody in Hollywood's kind of responding to. Everybody's kind of seeing like this was a small movie made by people who are passionate about it, and it's telling an important story at its core. And I think that narrative is starting to pick up a lot of steam for the movie. So I'm riding for it, and I'm placing my bets on it. But we'll have to see how things go.
Yeah, for real. But Sean, what any Golden Globes thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, to echo Ke Huy Quan and Michelle Yeoh winning was fucking awesome. I watched like the second half live, so I watched those speeches like on Twitter. But as soon as I saw Ke Huy Quan's, it made me tear up, man. I was literally crying. Like it was so beautiful and such a great speech, and I love the love that this movie is getting, because a lot of people were kind of what you guys were saying in awards season in particular. They're like no way Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to get any awards recognition at all, and they're killing it. A thing about the Oscars for Best Picture is that they have diversified the Oscar voting pool a little bit. There's a lot more younger people. There's a lot more people of color in there. So that could help a little bit. I do agree that the old people will probably be like, what the fuck is this, for sure?
Yeah.
Which could lean to maybe Steven Spielberg winning for The Fabelmans, or even Banshees of Inisherin winning, because the favorites before the Globes were it's Best Pictures between Everything Everywhere All at Once and Top Gun Maverick, which is crazy. And now it's kind of like those four together, kind of. I think Top Gun Maverick may be taking a little bit of a backseat, but it's tough. I hope Everything Everywhere All at Once wins, and kind of seeing like a movie like Parasite win a few years ago gives me a little bit of hope, even though that movie's not as weird. But a foreign language film winning Best Picture is definitely something to kind of add to that, where maybe I can have hope. But other with the Globes, I love that Jeremy Allen White won for The Bear. I love that show so much, and I think that's well deserved. I love that The White Lotus got a lot of love. That was really cool. Still blows my mind that the dude who wrote School of Rock is the one who created that show.
Fucking Ned Schneebly, bro.
Yeah, you Google it and it blows your mind. My friend told me to do it. He's like, do you know who wrote The White Lotus? I was like, oh yeah, it's Mike White guy. He's like, Google him. And I looked him, I was like, this guy? He said he like looked up in an interview and he thought he was watching the wrong interview when his face came up. That was really cool to see. I was a little bummed Everything Everywhere lost to Banshees for Best Musical Comedy, but it's a solid movie, so it's understandable. One I was bummed about, Better Call Saul got no fucking love, and they haven't.
That drove me nuts.
It's like it's cursed for awards season. It's like
they are cursed.
Nothing.
They get so many nominations and win like nothing. It makes zero sense, because that show is incredible. I binged that whole series this year.
I'm not here to take away from House of the Dragon, but I feel like that was Better Call Saul's win easily. So I was stunned
even Bob Odenkirk to win for Best Actor. Like, I get everyone loves Yellowstone, but I would have picked so many other people. He would have been like my last pick. That one I was bummed about too, but I get it. Everyone loves Yellowstone, and Taylor Sheridan is like a god of TV. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the main things. I'm stoked to see where things go for the Oscars and how things kind of line up for that with like Michelle Yeoh. I do think Kate Blanchett's probably going to win because I've seen Tar and she deserves it if she wins. So that's fair. It's fair. I would love the Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
Award seasons in general, I haven't tuned in to a live award show in a while, but I watched the highlights on Twitter. Just to echo everyone, Michelle Yeoh's winning, Ke Huy Quan. I love Abbott Elementary, so Quinta Brunson winning, Tyler James Williams. So everybody hates Chris, he's great.
Yeah.
As millennials, it was really cool to see Jennifer Coolidge win because to us she's Stifler's mom.
Yeah.
Gen Z and the next generation, they'll probably know her from that woman from White Lotus, who won the award. It's great because for so long she's kind of been, that's Stifler's mom's kind of a joke, but she's a serious actor and she's a thespian and now she has that golden globe for proof. Angela Bassett winning for Black Panther was great. With Hollywood being so snooty and always looking down on comic book movies, Black Panther continues to be this section of the MCU that just keeps winning. The first movie had 7 Oscar nominations, 3 wins, and Angela Bassett. We watched the movie. We're like, oh man, that one scene. I am queen, the most powerful nation in the world. My entire family is gone. Everyone's like, please give her all
chills. Just when you said that,
You can hear her voice.
Same here.
You can hear her voice, and it's really great seeing her win for that. Because it's a win for comic book movies when we have Scorsese, Spielberg, and James Cameron kind of complaining about what they've done to cinema. But yeah, that was really great, especially giving praise to Chadwick, of course. Anything else? Oh, Bayworth, the director for The Woman King. I feel like she's getting overlooked a lot.
Gina Prince Byworth.
Gina Prince Byworth. Yeah, I love Roma. I'm gonna see Belfast. The Fablemans is the third movie where a director tells their own life story. But it's Steven Spielberg. How many awards are we gonna give this guy? He's the king of the box office. He's getting all this praise from Ke Huy Quan this entire awards race. I love The Woman King, and it's an action film inside of a historical drama, and it's just the director is not getting the attention she deserves, I think. But other than that, I tuned into the highlights. People who I wanted to win, who I cared about, they won. So yeah, the Golden Globes. Brendan Fraser has his history with it, which is why I was like, I'm Team Fraser. If he's not fucking with it, I'm not fucking with it. So they did what they did, and Gerard Carmichael, I liked his joke about the Scientologists not being there to the award.
There's drama there too.
He's like holding an armful of awards, like, oh, they didn't show up, so I guess these are mine. Gerard Carmichael was a great host. I guess they couldn't find Ricky Gervais, so I just didn't want to come back for it. He's really good at tearing into them. It was great. I was happy with end results in the end with the Golden Globes.
Nice. And just to kind of follow up on your Angela Bassett, like we got that scene in the Wakanda Forever trailer. So it hit just as hard, like, given the context of everything. I love this when trailers like give you like a huge scene and then even though you already know it's coming, it hits you so much harder. Still hits. And yeah, no, that's just an amazing scene. Like Hayden said, when you were like just like saying parts of it, I was like getting chills already. Angela Bassett's amazing.
I think she's a lock for the Oscar.
I do too.
At least her getting nominated is a big, massive win for Marvel. First acting nom they've ever gotten. So either way, it's still a big win. I still think it should get nominated for Best Picture, even though it probably won't. But
I think
they get nominated for the SAG Award.
We're pushing forward when the nominations are no longer technical. In 2008, Knight and Iron Man both got Best Sound Design, Best Visual Effects, Best Editing. But now we're getting Angela Bassett, Best Actress for Black Panther. It's coming forward, and hopefully someday in the Academy and everyone is young and again, what we said about everything ever all at once probably not winning. Yeah, the Academy is a bunch of old white guys. It's the hot dog fingers, the butt plugs, and all that stuff. It's too weird for them. They're not gonna.
Yeah, no, they can't take it.
the emotional core, which is this family, the relationship between Jobu Tupaki and her mom, and Evelyn and Wayman, Evelyn and her father. They're going to miss all of that, which is what the movie really is about.
I think the last thing I'd say about the Globes too is like apparently Austin Butler is just Elvis Presley now. Like, did anybody watch that speech? Because his voice, he's just doing an Elvis thing with his voice. Yeah, that's a good concern. Yeah,
please don't. Please just drop it, man.
I grew up seeing him on like Disney Channel and all that stuff, and so I'm just like, have you always talked like this? Am I crazy, or what's going on here?
I've seen him on. There was some CW show I saw him on. It was like one of the DC superhero fucking CW shows, but he wasn't talking like that. So I'm just like, dude, please.
Yeah, either he's really in character, or he's officially just Elvis now. It's one or the other.
Man, Fade Routha with the Elvis voice. That's gonna be the internet joke of the year. Like, that's gonna be ridiculous. Bro.
He's like, cut that shit out, dude.
Hey, Paul Atreides. Like, bro, please stop.
I just want to say thank you to my mama.
Beyond the fandom, they posted this clip because like the rumor is that he is being eyed to play Johnny Storm. And they're like, oh Flame on. And I'm like, fuck.
Hey, Flame on.
Flame on.
Well, cool. That's the Gold Globes. And that's all I've got from news. So without further ado, let's get into our most anticipated watches of 2023. Again, just as a reminder, we're going from least anticipated, but you're still like looking forward to it, to most anticipated. So let's go with Chris. Let's go with you first. What's your number 10 on your most anticipated list of 2023?
All right. So per Joe's instructions, I took 5 movies, took 5 shows, and I put the list together. So at the bottom, number 10, last but never least, I might be the only one who chose shows that are currently airing this year, but they're not done airing, so I'm still anticipating.
Yeah.
Last but not least is my palate cleanser, Abbott Elementary. It's currently airing its 2nd season. It's hilarious. I teach 2nd grade special needs, so being a young Black educator, that show just rings so true for me in so many ways, and in comedic ways and social ways. Teachers every day, we're given nothing, and we have to produce miracles for students so they can be successful. And kids with special needs, autism, Down syndrome, it's mainly about teaching them social skills so they can actually succeed in the classroom, because if they don't know how to behave, they can't learn. So Abbott Elementary is definitely, it's at the bottom of the 10s, but it's not the bottom in my heart.
I hear that. No, I love Abbott Elementary. I haven't seen all of it, but it's a nice show because the episodes are very quick. They're like 20-25 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like a really easy watch, especially if you're having a quick meal or something, and it's very funny. I really love the humor in that.
Palate cleanser after seeing like a dark movie is perfect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Hayden.
Number 10 for me is The Bear season 2. Starring Jeremy Allen White. I personally am just so excited to see where this story continues to go. The last episode was one of the most insane episodes of television I've ever seen in my life. And I just found this show to be so addicting. Every time an episode ended, I just immediately wanted to start the next one. And I ended up just going through the whole season in like a day. And it was just
That's exactly how I watched The Bear. I binged all of it in a day.
It's one of those shows where once you start it and once you've seen an episode, you just need to continue going. You just, all of a sudden you're on episode 10 and it's over. I think that Jeremy Allen White winning this year at the Golden Globes for The Bear is so well deserved. And I think that with the 2nd season, they're going to really take this show to some crazy places that kind of start fully forming some of the ideas that they set up in the 1st season. So I'm really looking forward to The Bear season 2. I think it's going to be hilarious and continue to have real messages at its core too.
Nice. Sean?
Crazy. I also have The Bear season 2.
Nice.
I love this show. And I think that's the most exciting thing about these lists, is that actually the things I'm most excited for are shows like this that just come out of nowhere, or movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once that you knew nothing about until you watched it and you realize how special they are. But yeah, I love this show. Ever since I've watched a good chunk of Shameless, definitely not all of it. I remember watching him and I'm like, why is this dude not in more stuff? I've thought that for years. So when I saw that he was in a show that was on FX on Hulu, I was like, hell yeah, awesome. And then you end up watching it and you're like, wow, this is fantastic. So very, very stoked to see where it goes. I'm excited to see the new restaurant.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that'll be interesting to
see what it looks like.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm a toss in season 2 of The Bear at my number 10 as well. The Bear, like not only is it funny, but like I think it's the second to last episode. Hayden, I don't know if you were talking about the same episode, but there is an episode of it where it's all one shot. It's like just 20 minutes. That's when you meant. Okay, I don't know if that's a finale or if it's a second to last episode.
I think it was the 7th out of 8th. Yeah, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so that shit is nuts. Like just on a technical level, one shot just of complete insanity in the kitchen. And I've talked to I have a couple buddies that are like chefs and shit. I'm like, how accurate is a bear? And they're like, yeah, it can get pretty rough back there, especially when it gets busy. And the reason why like they got so slammed is because like someone left them like a really good review. And that's why they had to like scrambling to like make all these meals because they're like, oh, the food here must be good, The Bear season 2. We'll leave it at number 10. Really looking forward to it. And they just announced that earlier this week that it was going to be coming this summer, which I think, was it 8 or 10 episodes later 10. This summer?
Yeah, I think the first season was 8 and then this season's supposed to be 10, I think.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, stoked to see fucking cousin back. Hyped to be hearing folks like saying like corner. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Hands behind.
It's one of the best shows on TV right now, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, so The Bear season 2, my number 10 as well. Sean, let's go back to you. What's your number 9?
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We pretty much already talked about it, but stoked to see what Kang does and beginning of a new dynasty.
We'll see. Beginning of a new dynasty, like exactly one of the taglines in the trailer. We'll see how it goes. But okay, Chris, number 9.
Number 9 is another TV show, Invincible. I'm not familiar with the source material. My co-host on the Black Stub, Sam, he is. So I loved everything I saw in season 1. It's great that comic book content and comic book, stories are growing up with us. Like when we were kids, none of, Peacemaker, The Boys, Invincible, all these adult superhero stories weren't really around. And, when we were kids, it's Teen Titans, Justice League. As we grow up, these shows are growing up with us. So it's really great to see profanity, some gore, some really heavy stuff that we are now old enough to handle. Stephen Yeun, he's the best. Like what a year he had. Yeah.
Goated.
Walking Dead, Minari, and now this. Nope. He was great in Nope. I'm so glad he was in that movie. J.K. Simmons, his on-screen work, his voice acting work, he is another GOAT. I'm looking at the cast. Seth Rogen, I know he's like producing this, which is another win for him. No one really knows how much work Seth Rogen does as a producer. Everyone thinks he's the funny stoner guy, but he does a lot. Jillian Jacobs, we're getting 6 seasons in a movie for Community, and she's also great in the show. I love her character. Sandra Oh, another GOAT. The entire cast is phenomenal, and I love this story, and I can't wait to see what happens next because of how it ended with, think, Mark, think. Like that went and just, Omni-Man beating the crap out of his son. Yeah, Invincible was incredible, and I cannot wait for that show to return.
I'm pumped for it as well. Hayden.
My number 9 is another TV show, and it's season 2 of Yellow Jackets, starring Melanie Linsky, Christina Ricci, and Juliette Lewis. This show just came out of nowhere, kind of like with The Bear, where just a show that I was completely addicted with, and I couldn't stop watching it. Like every episode, I was just excited to see where it goes. It's really good at balancing 2 timelines. I think, that's a tricky task, and to keep audiences engaged over 2 separate timelines at once can be tough. But I think that Yellow Jackets finds a way to make both timelines of the series incredibly interesting in their own right. One being like a survival storyline, and another being like covering up the secrets of your dark past storyline. And I think that season 2, they've been teasing, is going far more in a horror direction with it, and that they're going to really lean into the survival horror elements of the story in the second season. And so I'm just really excited to see where this story continues to go. A lot of season 2s have made their way in here, but really excited for Yellow Jackets to continue.
Nice. My number 9 is I've been watching all the John Wick movies recently. So John Wick 4 is my number 9. I just love the ridiculous action that comes into it. I mean, I just finished watching John Wick 2, and the scene that's just so funny to me is when Common and Keanu are just like sneakily shooting each other, like trying to shoot each other in like the train station. It's just so silly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like seeing Keanu face off with Donnie Yen, and like I think Hiroyuki Sanada is also in this movie, right? I'm just like, where's this cast coming from?
Cast
Yeah. And then we have another, I forget which Skarsgård is there, but he's also in there. But yeah, John Wick 4. I think that's just the name of it for now. It's just John Wick 4.
John Wick
it's
Chapter
not like
4.
Chapter 4. Yeah. So just see where it goes. And I mean, how many more of these are they going to make?
Right.
know?
Yeah. I was just about
I think
to say
it's
with John Wick, I'm open to seeing as many as they want to do. Like keep it going. I'll go to John Wick 8 if you guys are going to keep getting me in the seat.
I know it's at least going to 5. Yeah, but we're getting,
Gotcha.
I think, the Continental series this year. And
And
I know
then-
they're filming that ballerina spin-off movie, which is supposed to kind of tie into current things with it, I think. So
Right.
Yeah, Keanu was cast in that, despite the fact that it's an Ana de Armas led movie. I've seen that he was cast in there, so I'm not sure how big of a role he'll have, but it's interesting.
Yeah. We'll see.
John Wick Cinematic Universe, man.
Who would have thought?
The fucking JWCU. Oh man,
Yeah.
love it.
Rolls off the tongue.
Love it. Love to hear it. I'm here for it. But okay, yeah, John Wick. That's my number. Wait, is that number 9? We're going on 8 now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 8. I'm gonna start us off with 8. Barry season 4. Barry is ridiculous. I mean, it's just all like the basic premise of it, like Marine turning into an actor, but it's low key, like kind of like his cover for everything. And like, I mean, Bill Hader's, I think he's just kind of a genius. And but yeah, I would say that's my number 8.
Very
Chris,
rules.
what about you? Barry
Number-
rules.
Number 8 is my first movie on the list. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It was between this and Quantum Mania, being both big threes in their respective runs in the MCU. I chose, there's no space for 11, so I chose Guardians over Ant-Man solely because of the investment that I have with these characters. Very similar to Ant-Man 3, this film feels different. It feels darker. I forget the actor from Peacemaker who's playing the character who's like obsessed with like perfection and like making beings their best selves. Like he
Is he the one being high evolutionary?
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chukwudi Iwuji.
Yes, thank you.
Chakwudi Iwuji. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, just it's so much going into it has been confirmed. James Gunn confirmed 2 major deaths. He confirmed the story does revolve around Rocket, learning about his history, and in Volume 1 when they're changing for their prison suits, we see all the cyber tech on his back, and so something happened to Rocket. We just don't know what happened. The trailer reveals his otter girlfriend, which is really sweet. So yeah, even with Jonathan Majors and everything going on over there, it's been since 2014. I've been invested in the C-list characters that James Gunn introduced and made the world care about. Just before the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't know who those people were, and now they're arguably my favorite superhero team. Really curious about Gamora. She's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Really want to know where she's been and what's going to happen between her and Peter, because this is not the same Gamora we know and love. This is a Gamora who was taken out of time in Endgame. So this is James Gunn bowing out of the MCU. He's going to take over DC. This is the end for 2 characters. Dave Bautista said he's done after this. So there's just so much emotion already going into this. And I cannot wait. Chris Pratt's face, like crying in the trailer. Almost Rocket is like on the table dying or something, but there's so much emotion. And the MCU, these trailers, they're so good at picking music to whether you're James Gunn or Peyton Reed, you know how to choose the songs for your trailer to set the tone. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be another emotional ride in the MCU. So that's my number 8.
Nice. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on Guardians 3, Chris, because there's so much like stacked on it. Like James Gunn's final MCU thing. It's the end of a trilogy. We got these confirmations of a couple deaths. It just feels like a definitive end for this group of Guardians,
Yeah.
which is really interesting because like how they do move forward with the Guardians name, like you have to imagine that like there's going to be a new team or something, but we'll see. Hayden, let's go with you next.
Okay, I have another TV show, and then I'm gonna get into a couple movies going forward. But my number 8 is Invincible Season 2. And I was torn between a couple here. X-Men 97 was kind of fighting for this spot. But, going back to what you said, Chris, I think that so much of this, the hype for this is the fact that we've been waiting so long since that crazy ending in Season 1. It's just been so long. And knowing that it's almost here, the excitement is just starting to reach an all-time high for it. I think what's awesome about Invincible is growing up with so much of the animated TV shows that we grew up with and everything like that. Invincible has this way of still feeling like a Saturday morning cartoon while people are getting their faces bashed in and while people are getting ripped apart. It still kind of has this feeling that it brought when I was a kid watching a lot of these animated superhero shows. And I just think that Invincible is writing such a good narrative with such a fantastic cast. They've done a really interesting job at adapting it to the screen because they've changed kind of the pacing of some of the comic book stuff. I'm really interested to see how they'll go about season 2, because if they were to follow the comics, really Omni-Man wouldn't be present in this season at all. So I'm really interested to see how they'll incorporate him, if they will incorporate him in. I'm really looking forward to Invincible season 2, and I can't wait to hear Steven Yeun play that character again.
Yeah, I think luckily they did 2 and 3 at the same time, so hopefully we're not gonna have to wait too long for season 3. Like hopefully get it like next year. But yeah, it's been a long time, and I've only read the first 3 chapters or first 3 volumes of the comic, which pretty much covers season 1 for the most part. Right. And I've heard a few interviews with Robert Kirkman, and I think that's another thing that people are starting to learn with any kind of adaptations. Well, adaptations that they want to be faithful, obviously like the MCU and DC, it's like a different bag there because they're just kind of just taking the characters and ideas and making their own things. But Invincible is like pretty much like a 1-to-1 adaptation. They just changed a few things really to make it better. And he even said, he's like, it's a great thing for me because I get to look at these things I did like over a decade ago and be like, oh, I can do this better now, or I can see how this goes this way and things like that. So it is cool that someone who created something can bring it to a different medium and add new layers on top of it and try new things with it.
Right. Like arguably kind of make it better. Like all the changes he's made to the TV show are changes that are in service of the story. Yep. And I think after he got burned so bad with The Walking Dead and had so much of his creative control stripped away from him with that story, I think it's awesome that he has so much power over the adaptation of Invincible.
But okay, that's your number 8, Hayden.
Yeah, Invincible season 2.
Invincible season 2. Love to hear it. All right, Sean.
My number 8 is Ahsoka.
Nice.
Star Wars series. I'm a massive Rebels fan. I love Rebels. I think it's some of the best Star Wars out there. Has easily one of my favorite Star Wars moments of all time. It has to do with Kanan Jarrus, and I'm not going to reveal it if you don't know what it is, but if you do know, you probably cried like I did. And
dude, it is so powerful. Like I just saw the clip on Twitter the other day. I'm like, oh, damn.
Every time I see it pop up, I'm like, God damn it. It's so good.
No, that's powerful stuff right there.
And I know the first season of Rebels kind of takes until the finale to like really hit its stride of being like, oh, this show is for real. Yeah. But after it gets to there, like the show is pretty all killer, no filler, maybe a few filler episodes sprinkled in there. But for the most part, it's solid ass TV and story. And I can't wait to see the story continued in live action. I can't wait to see Ezra. Like, what the fuck is going on with Ezra and Thrawn? I'm so stoked to see what the show is actually about and just to see these characters like brought to life in live action. Already seeing Ahsoka in Mando, I was like freaking out when she said Thrawn. I was like, yo, let's fucking go. And
when I first saw that episode, like I had no idea what was going to come out of her mouth at that moment.
Right.
And like when I was watching it, like my eyebrows were just like, wait, what?
Just what amazing. Filoni has done for Star Wars is you can't even put any quantifiable value on it because the dude just is Star Wars now.
Right.
He is. I love Andor. I think Andor is like one of the best Star Wars things ever made. Like no joke. But what Filoni does in Star Wars is incredible, and it can't be matched really in a Star Wars level, I guess. But I just can't wait to see what the series brings, and I'm interested to see because if they go towards like what's canon of what's happened within the movies, Ahsoka didn't make it to the sequel trilogies because she's one of the voices that comes out and talks to Rey, and all those voices were dead. And I'm wondering if we're going to get a similar Kanan Jarrus moment eventually in the Mandoverse. And that will break me for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That's actually a really interesting point. I'll be interested to see if they bring that to life on the show.
Because technically, I mean, Ezra saved her life. She was technically dead for like a few seasons. We didn't know she was dead until we knew.
Hayden, if you haven't seen Rebels, there's some time travel shit that goes on in Rebels.
So I've read up on Rebels, and it's kind of a point in shame for me that I haven't watched Rebels, but I do know some of the story beats of it. I do want to get around to checking it out.
Could not recommend it higher. Like Clone Wars and Rebels are so slept on, and it adds so much to the Mandalorian. Like it's insane how much it adds to the Mandalorian, because that's what made me watch it. When he showed up with the Darksaber, Moff Gideon pulled out the Darksaber. I was like, "What is this?" And I saw the internet freaking out about it, and I was like, "What is this thing? What is this black lightsaber?" And then I saw that like, "Oh yeah, it's from Clone Wars," and I'm like, "Well, gotta watch Clone Wars now." And I just watched Clone Wars, watch Rebels, and here I am, love both of them. The final 4 episodes of Clone Wars season 7 is, if you count it as a movie, would be one of the best Star Wars movies, hands down.
Wow,
it's
top tier Star Wars shit. Oh,
I need to get around to it then.
It enriches the prequel series so much, and I think that's
just
what
for a little context, Hayden. The final 4 episodes of Clone Wars takes place at the same time of Revenge of the Sith. So
yes.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow.
It is nuts. It is so good. And I think that's kind of what the Mandoverse is doing for the sequel trilogy, kind of adding context to certain things, like with all the cloning stuff and everything like that. And even the Bad Batch is doing a little bit of that legwork as well. So, which I mean, also is Filoni, so it makes sense. It's like they went to Filoni, like, hey man, can you like help fill in these holes, bro? Like maybe a little, do us a favor.
Like, we're drowning over here, please. Someone help save us.
But yeah, Ahsoka, my number 8.
Nice. Man, I can't wait for Ahsoka either. Okay, let's do our number 7s. Chris, number 7.
Number 7, another movie, Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. This is a character and a franchise that means so much to me. I love all the memes of like Harrison Ford being grumpy about Star Wars, but loving and being so proud of Indiana Jones. Like he's played Indy and Han Solo for the same amount of time, but like because Indiana Jones is his franchise, he loves it. There's something about Star Wars. It wasn't his. So Harrison Ford never took ownership of it. It was like, oh, this is Mark's thing. He's the Jedi. People like the lightsabers. I just fly the ship. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was what it was, but James Mangold, Ford v Ferrari, and Logan, I say all the time on TikTok and Twitter, he's really good at these old man sunset stories. So I really do. I have a good feeling about this. Indy, the character, is going to have a proper send-off. Harrison Ford will have a proper send-off. The trailer looks great. It feels like the old school 80s Indiana Jones. It feels like the fun and the heart is back. Like the very end of the trailer where he's like, back, you all get back with the whip, and then they all like start shooting at him. He nuts. Like it's hilarious. And like seeing the trailer, hearing the John Williams score swell once again. Like I get chills every time. So I have hope for this one. I think it's going to be better than 4, and we can finally enjoy this franchise for 4 great movies instead of just like, oh, there's only 3. We don't talk about the other one. Hopefully we can talk about the other one being Indiana Jones 5. So Dial of Destiny is number 7 for me.
I'm looking forward to that one as well. And like, I love that you brought up like, him disliking Han Solo, because everyone loves him as Han Solo, right? But then like everybody thinks about him as just Han Solo. I feel like that people think about him more as Han Solo than they do of Indy. But I can't wait for it.
Nobody hates Han Solo more than Harrison Ford. It's crazy.
Hilarious. It is so funny.
I'm with you though. So. I think that this is going to be fantastic. And James Mangold, like I love Spielberg and I love what he did with those movies, but James Mangold is such a good choice for this final send off of the character.
Yeah, I don't even really care about Indiana Jones. I remember like watching like Temple of Doom when I was a kid and being like, this movie is awesome, but other than that, I have no like affinity towards them. But the selling point, rocks. The selling point, yeah, pretty much, yeah. And the selling point for this movie to me is James Mangold.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. But okay, Sean, let's go to number 7.
Sticking with TV here, Severance season 2.
Nice.
And that one is kind of, I don't really know if it's coming out this season, but I looked in anticipation for my most anticipated TV shows. I looked at a lot of articles to try and like see what's coming out and what is definitely coming out. And they listed it as likely coming out because I know they started filming last year. So I'm hopeful it is, but I loved season 1. It was another one of those shows that I had no idea what it was. Kind of saw some people talking about it, and then I binged it. And now it's become a thing where on my show, I do a now watching section of what the guests and I have been watching lately. And it comes up on the guest side almost weekly, and it's awesome. I love it. It's become like a secret character of my show, and every time I'm like, dude, everyone brings this up, but I love it because this show is incredible. So I'm so it ended in like the most frustrating cliffhanger ever because you're like, I need to know what happens now. So I hope we get that this year. Severance season 2 is my number stuff.
That's
Nice.
one that I missed and that I still, again, like, I don't know how I missed it. It's I've heard nothing but just the most intense praise for it. And I like Ben Stiller quite a bit. I know he's not in it. He just directed, right?
Yeah. I think he might be one of like the big brains behind it, like fully.
Okay.
But he does direct a lot of it, and I think he's directing like all of this next season, maybe, or at least the majority of it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to binge that and get through it.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it higher.
Random fact about Hayden. He just watched Zoolander for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Hey, that movie is a classic. Don't you dare.
Oh, it was great. No, it was, I rated it fairly high, actually. I just had never seen it, so I felt out of my element watching it, but no, it was a blast.
No, Zoolander is oddly making a strange comeback on the internet because everyone's using that clip of Ben Stiller and fucking Owen Wilson. But anyways, yeah.
Hansel's so hot right now, Hansel.
Okay, but Hayden, let's go with you next, number 7.
Number 7 for me is my first movie of the list so far. It's Evil Dead Rise. I am just a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise. It's kind of the thing that got me into horror. I watched it with my dad, the whole original trilogy, when I was like 13. And ever since then, it's just been a diehard fan of the franchise. And I think they've gone so many directions with Evil Dead at this point. They've done horror comedy. They've done full-on horror. They've done full-on comedy with Ash vs. Evil Dead. And so I think that at this point, where else to go except for going back into the horror realm, right? I think the idea of getting a little bit away from the comedy after going full comedy with that show is really interesting to me. I don't love the director of this previous movie. So that's kind of my one hang up with it. But after watching that trailer, I was like, this looks extremely violent. It looks pretty freaky and it looks like a ton of fun. And that's all I can really ask for from an Evil Dead movie. So I'm sold on it, despite the fact that I don't know how much I'm sold on like the cast of it and the director of it, but I'm just really happy to have a new Evil Dead movie, and especially one that's releasing in theaters. It was originally supposed to be straight to streaming, and halfway through it, they were like, we're going to give this more of a budget. We're going to put this out in movie theaters. And I couldn't be more glad that they did, because I just can't wait to have another Evil Dead movie on the screen.
Nice. My number 7, I'm going Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm rewatching like most of the Mission Impossible movies right now. I'm currently on... but I'm going backwards though. Like I watched Fallout like a week ago. I think I'm on what's the one before that? I think it's Rogue Nation. Just ridiculous opening stunts all the time. I mean, Tom Cruise is like, if he dies, like he's gonna die making a movie. That he's just a madman. But what I want to know most about this movie, and Sean, we talked about this. I love the motorbike off the cliff. I think it's the coolest thing ever, and the fact that he's doing this for a movie is really cool. But why? I need to know why he needs to ride this motorcycle off a cliff. Like, what's the context, bro?
You don't need context.
I just want to know though, like is someone chasing after him? That's why he has to ride it off. Like, what's going on here? It's still like very impressive stuff, and like they're saying it's like the biggest stunt ever done in cinema history. But I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on in the movie? They have to ride it off a cliff, bro.
He's got to get out of there. He's on the move.
Yeah, he was actually just getting to his doctor's appointment. The best way to go.
I love it. Dang, it's just a nice quiet part of the movie to start off, and it's just like, oh fuck, I gotta get to an appointment real quick.
I would love that.
Oh man, yeah, but Mission Impossible. I mean, these movies are just they're classics. You know, it's just like crazy espionage action movies. So I'm really looking forward to Mission Impossible. Now that brings us to number 6. Hayden.
Number 6 for me, and I was kind of torn with a couple, but I had to just follow my heart because of how much I love the first one, is Dune Part 2.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about it, and I don't know if it'll make an appearance on other people's lists here, but after falling in love with the world in Dune, and I'm someone who hasn't read the books, I've only kind of skimmed through the David Lynch version of the movie. This was a fairly new story to me, and I'm glad I experienced it that way, to be honest with you. I think that first movie, I was sold on the spectacle of it, I was sold on the world, but I was also sold on the character journey for Timothée Chalamet's character, Paul Atreides, and I also can't wait to have Zendaya actually have a fair amount of screen time in this movie, to see her interact with Timothée Chalamet, and really just to have the whole cast kind of back on the screen. and really fleshing out the story and bringing the whole scope and scale of everything they were setting up into play.
And once again, I hate to bring this back, but please, Austin Butler, drop the Elvis thing before you do Fade Routha. Nice. Number 6. Sean, what about you? What's number 6? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if he will. I think we might be getting that Elvis voice in Dune Part 2.
I hate that a lot. I really like Austin Butler, but I hate that.
Yeah, only time will tell.
My number 6 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. There's not much you really need to say about this movie. I mean, the first one was I think a surprise hit for everyone. I would imagine, like, oh, cool, an animated Spider-Man movie. Let's go. I remember that was the reason we went and saw it in theaters. And then we watched it and we were like, was this like one of the best superhero movies ever made? What?
Like, no way.
What did we just watch? So them doing the sequel. I actually had a friend who was working at Sony Animation, and he told me when I got moved back, it really wasn't, they weren't changing plot, anything like that. It was all based on them wanting to get the animation like pitch perfect, which I was like, I mean, that's a good thing to hear. And even seeing the trailer that we saw, like a month ago, I mean, it looks absolutely crazy, and I can't wait for it. I'm so stoked to see what this movie even is. And then the fact that we get another one next year is even more exciting. I'm just so stoked to see Lord and Miller, I think, are just, I don't know, everything they touch is gold now. Let's see what they got with this one. I can't wait to see what happens to Miles and Gwen and Oscar Isaac. Dude, I mean, that dude has just been killing it for years, obviously, but now he's finally known as like a force. But for him to lend his voice as Miguel O'Hara is going to be interesting. Yeah. I can't wait to see Cyberpunk. My friend told me I'd be very stoked on Cyberpunk, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Chris?
Number 6, another movie. This is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. This is Creed 3. So 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, there are so many franchises I knew as a film fan I had to like go back and see because I simply haven't seen them. I binged the Rocky franchise because 2020 it was all on Netflix, and fell in love with it. It's the perfect underdog sports movie. And Creed, the first Creed from 2015, Ryan Coogler, it's great. I love the way it echoes the first and second Rocky. Creed 2 echoes Rocky 4, Drago and the kind of a sins of the father kind of story, which is really effective. And now we have, again, Jonathan Majors. We can't avoid this guy. He's in 3.
Yeah, this man is everywhere.
One way or another, he's going to be on our list. Creed 3, the trailer feels a lot like Rocky 3 with Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, and Rocky 5, where Rocky takes an apprentice or a student off the streets and helps him out, and it kind of becomes a problem. The trailer kind of feels that way, and just seeing Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors at the Devotion premiere with Glenn Powell, like their dynamic, their chemistry is fantastic, and
they're boxing.
Yeah, the shadow boxing, that was so much fun. I was like, that kind of reminds me of me and my brother. But the trailer looks great. The story looks great. Adonis Creed is now, he's been the champ for a few years now. He's number 1, love and respect around the city. And then this, again, blast from the past, sins from the past come back to haunt you. Oh, I was always better than you, but I never got my chance. Now this is my chance, and I don't care what history we have. I'm coming for my opportunity because I was in prison for 15 years while you got everything that should have been mine. Like I love the jealousy. I love the toxicity. I love the anger. I love the resentment. Everything that Jonathan Majors is doing in this trailer, and all the behind scene photos of him on the beach. How big he got for this role.
Absolutely jacked.
Yeah, you see that big fighting Paul Rudd? Like how? Of course, Paul Rudd's going to lose. Like, my goodness. And again, Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut is very exciting. I like Michael B. Jordan. He's not my favorite actor, but he's definitely a movie star. Not to be a snob, but there's a difference between an actor, a thespian, and a movie star, someone who just does that kind of tropey thing.
Sure, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see him after all these years, being an A-lister, go behind the camera, and I'm really curious to see what Michael B. Jordan can do behind the camera as a director, and I'm also excited to see Jonathan Majors in the Creed franchise. You know, seeing Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan go at it is going to be great. And Dodger Stadium, that's going to be crazy. If that's the third act, then this movie is going to be crazy. So Creed 3 is my number 6, and that rounds out my bottom 5.
It looks like Michael B. Jordan got some notes from his boy Ryan Coogler.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
For some advice.
What I really want to see in this movie, it hasn't made my list in any of my most anticipated, but it's always kind of been in the precipice because I am very, very stoked for this movie, is that they have a really interesting opportunity. It's, you know, it's always, sometimes they'll lose in the beginning and then they'll end up winning in the end. But like, what if he loses in the end?
Just straight up loses. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love when movies take that ballsy risk.
Yeah.
Hero loses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wonder if they'll do that, especially in his own directorial debut. Like, it'd be kind of interesting to see that.
And that would be cool if it ended with Jonathan Majors' character getting his flowers. Like, you know what? You were right. I was wrong after all these years. Here, man. Like, now's your time. Like, it'd be really cool if this was a sunset bow out for Michael B. Jordan's Adonis Creed. That'd be cool because now he's married and a family man. So there's more to him than just boxing.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I'm curious too because like Jonathan Majors, I feel like this had to be the movie where he had to get in like crazy good shape, but he has another movie coming out, which I think is an A24 movie where he portrays like an amateur bodybuilder. So I'm like, damn, okay. So he just got like insanely jacked up and then he's like, all right, well, I'm in shape. I might as well do like some other stuff where I need to be in shape, you know?
It's not like he wasn't jacked before.
No, he was in great shape before. He was just like a little slimmer, but now he's just like, you know, he's fucking giant.
Absolutely.
That one photo from him from like filming Creed, and everyone was tweeting around, be like, "The Avengers are fucked." And I'm like, yeah.
Let's see, my number 6, and this is like I haven't seen every Studio Ghibli movie, but I've seen like a good handful of them. So my number 6 is Hayao Miyazaki's How Do You Live? Know nothing about it. I just know it's like
about this movie.
Know nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. It's just like an animated Studio Ghibli film. I think that's all you need, honestly,
Straight up.
to really enjoy it. So yeah, that's my number 6. Now
I'm
we're
extremely excited for this, and I have no idea what this plot is. All I know is Miyazaki came back from what he had retired. He was done, and he had no intentions of making another Studio Ghibli movie. And so, just to have him back and to have him making what he is really describing as kind of like his farewell, I think is incredibly exciting. So I'm really all here for it, even though I don't even know what the plot is.
No, I mean we just have like this little poster. But yeah,
bird?
so yeah, it's like a bird or something. It looks like a bird. Yeah.
You know what? Say less. I'm in.
But yeah, that's my number 6. So now let's do our number 5s. Sean.
Number 5 is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, one of my favorite directors. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And the cast in this movie, I mean, come on, who isn't in this movie? It's cool, and a cast is stacked to see Cillian Murphy, because I feel like he is a very kind of like underrated actor. He's in a lot of things, but he's not like the leading man in a lot of things.
Never.
So I'm excited to see that. I think that's going to be really cool. And that full trailer that we finally got after seeing that teaser in theaters, you know, for like months of the same thing, it was nice to get some more kind of shots in there, and it looks wild. I mean, it looks Christopher Nolan doing Christopher Nolan things.
I hear you.
And it seems like it'll be less confusing than Tenet, even though I did enjoy Tenet.
I also enjoyed Tenet. I couldn't tell you anything about the narrative of that movie at this point. I think I've just
like how does the time make sense? You know,
everything went forward and then it went backward.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. It's just hidden underneath an exterior of confusion.
Time is a flat circle, as explained by that movie.
Nice. I fuck with that choice for sure. And I'm gonna just go next because my number 5 is also Oppenheimer. I like Nolan. You know what I mean? Christopher Nolan. It's very film bro-y of me to like Christopher Nolan, but But no, Oppenheimer, really looking forward to this. Like, I mean, the story of building the atomic bomb, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, kind of heavy shit.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But no, he's got fucking Ludwig on the score. It looks great. Not to echo too much of what you said, but Oppenheimer, my number 5 for sure. Chris, your number 5.
So Oppenheimer is on my top 10s list for just movies, but when it came time to incorporate TV shows, I had to like edge it out a little bit just to make room.
Same.
But
yeah, same thing happened to me.
It's definitely on my top 10 for just movies. So number 5, TV. Loki season 2.
Nice.
Going back to I think what Sean said, how exciting the season finale was for Loki season 1. Jonathan Majors again, he remains the variant of Kang the Conqueror, just popping up in the same in a variation of blue, of purple, and green. As far as Phase 4 goes, I know a lot of people had criticisms of Phase 4 of the MCU. Loki season 1 was obviously pushing the narrative of the MCU forward, where most of Phase 4 was rebuilding, introducing new characters. So when we put them in the movies, you know who they are. So, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, Sam Wilson as Captain America, She-Hulk, all these characters are now established in these streaming services, and now we can have them in Phase 5. Loki, it's Loki. He's been our favorite since 2012. So we can take this character and add new things, show new worlds, show new characters, and the TVA. Owen Wilson is fantastic. I loved everything about this show. The line about Infinity Stones being paperweights down here. This is where the MCU is now. Like that's over and done with. We're now in the multiverse saga. And Tom Hiddleston, we love him as Loki. We love him in anything he does. I'm very excited for season 2 of Loki and where it goes, because where it ends is crazy. He comes back from the void, at the end of time, and it's not the TVA he was just at. Owen Wilson's Mobius no longer recognizes him. He doesn't know who he is. So it's a crazy ending and it's a crazy twist. So I'm really curious as to where it goes next. And also, Ke Huy Quan is going to be in season 2. So
I was about to say it. Yeah,
we'll just keep winning.
Kevin Feige called him himself
personally.
Welcome him to the MCU.
Yeah, asked him to be in the MCU. So yeah, Loki season 2 rounds out my top 5.
Nice. Hayden?
My number 5, back to TV, is The Mandalorian season 3. There's not a whole lot to even be said about it. It's just going to be fantastic. We already know it's going to be fantastic. And I think all the Star Wars fans have just been kind of waiting around for this one, despite the fact that there's been some fantastic stuff to come out. This is kind of the one that everybody just it's like a communal thing. Am I frustrated that a big chunk of what this narrative could have been about was solved in the Book of Boba Fett? Yes. But I also think that the season that we'll have in store for us now, they don't have to waste any time. They can get straight into the narrative of what they're trying to do here. We have Grogu back, and we're going to get straight into all the fun, all the action, and all the adventure. So I just can't wait to see more of this character, and I can't wait to have Pedro Pascal back as this character. The Mandalorian is just one of those things that, in a time where Star Wars had become this thing for multiple fans, everybody was kind of in different places with it. There were some fans who were still riding with it, some fans who had kind of really hopped off. I think Mandalorian just kind of brought everybody back in, and is just this thing that everybody likes. All Star Wars fans can agree The Mandalorian rules, and we're all excited for it. And so I think that this is going to be a great season. I can't wait for it.
I think the thing that excites me the most about The Mandalorian season 3 is that more of a chance to explore Din Djarin. I don't know if they will do that, but that's what I'm hoping for, because the Grogu thing is kind of like now in the past. At least that's how I feel. But yeah, I love that. Mando season 3.
I do think you're right, though. I think rather than Grogu being a huge part of the narrative and the story that they're filling out, I think now he's kind of just going to be tagging along. We're just going to have all the things that we love about that character. He's just going to be hanging out. So I think a bigger narrative is about to be in play, and that's something that's really exciting after 2 seasons of a very straightforward story. The fact that we're now about to expand and kind of go out the realms of what we've known this show to be is particularly exciting for me. Yeah.
Will there be a calling for Din Djarin to lead the Mandalorians? I think that'd be pretty interesting,
Right.
But
I think that's where they're going.
See. Yeah. Can't wait.
All right. And that brings us to top 4. Let me start us off. I'm going to go with my number 4. This has already been brought up all throughout this episode. And honestly, I am hoping that's what the speculation is that season 2 comes by towards the back half of this year. But Invincible season 2, fucking love Invincible. We talked a lot about stuff that we knew nothing about, and this is one of those that I didn't read any of the comics. And Hayden, I like how you said the whole thing about the Saturday morning cartoon thing, because I think the first episode is very much like Saturday morning cartoon up until you watch the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's when shit hits the fan, But no, I absolutely loved it. And Steve Yeun fucking rocks. The entire cast, all the voice acting is just so good. And I can't wait to see more. What's it called when it's like a bunch of issues in like one comic book? It's like a super thick book. Is that
Trade.
like a trade?
Well,
it's a trade.
A trade is like the volumes. Omnibuses are the bigger ones.
I think my former roommate had like an omnibus of Invincible, and like he read pretty much up until like all of season 1, like where it ends, and like he pulled off like pulled up like a chunk of pages like this is season 1 compared to like the rest of the book where it's like there's still so much left. I'm like, damn, if there's this much Invincible, fucking give me 10 seasons of this shit.
Yeah, like season 1 was the first 3 volumes, which is, like 18 issues, and there's over 100 issues of Invincible. Yeah.
I'm fucking pumped on it.
Wow.
And I love that Robert Kirkman is like so heavily involved with it, because like the way that people talk about Invincible is that like this is like his baby. Invincible is Robert Kirkman's shit. But yeah, that's my number 4. Sean.
Another one I'm not sure that's coming out this year. Ted Lasso season 3. One of the best shows on TV. A hit. Another one that's like I don't think anyone saw it coming. I don't even think the people who were making it saw it coming of how big of a hit the show would be. I just love this show. It's just great TV. It's like a warm blanket. Obviously, they got a little more like emotional heavy in the second season, which I think was needed. It adds more to the character, adds more to the story. And the word on the street is season 3 is the last season. They planned on 3 seasons, and they might stick to it. I can only respect them if they had a game plan and they're sticking with it. No knock on that. I'd rather have 3 incredible seasons than they go 6 and, the last few are kind of whatever. So I'm totally okay with that if that's the story they want to tell. Or if they find more and they think it's going to be a good idea, I kind of trust them. It's like a different kind of thing in streaming now, is if they have a plan and the shows go past that plan, I kind of have more faith in them because it is so creator heavy now. It's not really like the network pushing them because they don't have to do 25 episodes or whatever to fill out a season. They don't need to keep going because they get offered more money. They can kind of do what they want to do. And I think that's why it's made like, I feel like last year was like a TV boom of shows. Like last year was such an incredible year for TV. And I think it's only going to continue. So yeah, Ted Lasso is my number 4.
I've been watching this one right now. It's kind of just been my recent like laying in bed, just unwinding before I have to go to bed and work the next day. And it's like the perfect show to just kind of unravel after a long day. Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I haven't made it to season 2 yet, which I've heard is where the show really hits its stride. So I'm still enjoying it a lot. So
nice. Chris, number 4.
Real quickly, sorry. Sean, was it season 1 or season 2 where Ted Lasso had his panic attack because of the divorce?
I think it was the end of season 1, but I think it also happened in season 2.
Jason Sudeikis killed that. So good. I was crying internally for Ted Lasso when he's like celebrating with the team and he just has to leave. There's so much on his mind. He has to leave. He has a panic attack. He's like sitting outside in the cold. He's a wreck. And I love characters like Ted Lasso and Wayman Wong from Everything Ever All at Once. Just sweet guys, humanity, empathy. I love those characters. Okay, top 4. A movie. This is Dune Part 2. I think Hayden had it also on his list. Enemy is great. Prisoners is great. What Denis Villeneuve does with science fiction is next level. Blade Runner 2049 is a masterpiece in my opinion. It's easily my favorite film of 2017, and I loved The Shape of Water and everything else that came out that year. But Blade Runner 2049 is incredible. Arrival is incredible. Dune Part 1, amazing. I watched the original 1984 David Lynch film. It wasn't David Lynch or David Fincher?
Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just he took it to the next level, and that's what he does. His movies are shot gorgeously. The cast is incredible. Yes, please more Zendaya, because she was like such a big part of the marketing for the first movie, and she's like not in the movie. It's kind of
people were like, "Oh, we were Zendaya fished for this movie." Like,
and this is something special for Timothée Chalamet. He's often compared to Tom Holland. Who is better? I feel like I've seen Tom Holland.
I don't even think it's close. Timothée Chalamet.
Really?
Easily.
I don't think it's close.
I think I'm more on Tom Holland's side. I feel like I've seen.
Oh shit!
I feel like I've seen more range from Tom Holland. I feel like I've from
really.
Yeah, from
Interesting.
Ooh.
yeah, like did you guys see The Devil All the Time on Netflix?
I did. I quite like that
No.
movie actually. It's
I missed
pretty
that
good.
one.
Okay.
It's
Fair.
kind of dark film. You don't revisit, but you watch it one time and you're affected by it. For so long, Tom Holland, his American voice was just the Peter Parker, hey, Mr. Stark kind of voice. But all the time, he has this small town Midwest kind of accent. And it was really, really great. From Little Women to Don't Look Up. I liked Don't Look Up. I thought Chalamet was good in that one. It felt he was doing something different. But in Dune, I feel like Paul Atreides is where he can really transform himself. I for me at least, I feel like I haven't seen Timothée Chalamet, who I love. I haven't seen him transform himself yet. And in Dune, I feel like he is. I don't see Timothée Chalamet when I'm watching him in Dune.
Have you seen Beautiful Boy?
Beautiful Boy? I've seen scenes. I've seen like all the clips and like emotional stuff.
That's probably one of his best movies.
I need
He's
to watch.
real. In that
Okay,
movie.
I need to find that on streaming somewhere because that scene when he's sitting down with his dad, he's like, "This is who I am, Dad. This is who I am." Like, I've seen that clip so many times, and it's a beautiful scene. It kind of reminds me of like the conversation I would have with my dad.
I was like, he was very into hard drugs, so I don't know.
But everything that Denis Villeneuve has done in science fiction is next level. So Dune Part 2, bringing in Florence Pugh, bringing in Elvis. It's going to be
Christopher Walken.
I need the spice.
I need the spice.
The spice. Paul Atreides, where you going? The freedom.
I will say, after Severance, I am so down for him to be in like a serious science fiction movie because I mean, he killed it in that show. So
yeah. So for me, Doom Part 2 is up there for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait for the movie. Denis Villeneuve is such a visionary, and I completely agree with you in regards to how he directs sci-fi. He has such an interesting way of bringing his directorial style and his writing style to those worlds, and he's fantastic.
Yeah. I watched Prisoners for the first time this past year. So
Oh yeah,
that
it's
was
a
go.
masterpiece.
sick. But Hayden.
So I was fighting a little bit of a battle in my head here because I knew that everybody was going to or not everybody, but I knew Oppenheimer was going to make it into a lot of lists. And I really wanted Oppenheimer on my list, but there's a movie coming out on the same day that I'm extremely curious about.
Here
I
we
wouldn't
go.
even say
Let's go.
hashtag Barbie sweep.
Hashtag Barbie sweet, baby.
I don't know if this is a movie that I like can't wait for. It's not like something that's like a burning passion of mine to see, but I don't know if I've ever been more curious about a movie to see what it's even going to be. I have no idea of how Greta Gerwig's going to approach the story, but I know that with her and Noah Baumbach working on it together, I'm just so intrigued. I need to know what it's going to be. And you look at that cast too. Just what a crazy cast in the same sense of like Oppenheimer having everybody in Hollywood in it. Barbie has everybody else who wasn't in Oppenheimer. And I just think that this movie, it's such a bizarre thing that exists and we don't even really know what it is yet. And I'm going to be there opening day to see both those movies. I'm excited for it, regardless of the fact that I don't really know what the plan here is. I like to think it's going to be some sort of satire or some sort of knowing movie, right? Like if I end up putting this on my list and I end up going into the theater and just getting a straight up Barbie movie, I'll be severely let down. But
I think with the people
I'm riding.
I don't think that's what you're gonna get.
Right? Yeah, I'm really riding on the creative talent behind this movie and the cast behind this movie, and I just think it's such an interesting chance to do something really creative and really weird. I'm looking forward to it, regardless of the fact that it's a Barbie movie. It feels so weird to put it in my list, but it's made it here.
No.
10 movies of most anticipated, but not this one. But dude, exactly what you said. I am so intrigued. You cannot put it any other way than that. As like, what is this movie? I just need it.
We can only hope that neither of them is like, oh fuck, like Barbie, like if you're like someone on the Oppenheimer team, you're like, fuck, Barbie's coming out the same day, we gotta move. Or if you're like on Barbie, you're like, oh, Oppenheimer's coming out the same day, we gotta move. I hope neither of them moves. They both need to come out on the same day because I'm already planning. I'm planning my day off. You know, like it's already like this is a full day at the movies. You know what I'm saying?
Double feature, baby. I'm gonna be wearing pink pants and a black shirt. Probably not. But that'd be funny.
But it's like Greta Gerwig, like at one point, like played with Barbies and like made up, like, you know, when she was like a kid, used her imagination to come make up this crazy Barbie story and she remembered it, or it's going to be like some great satire just talking about one of the world's biggest toys. I hope it's a satire bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for too. I get a kick out of going to the Letterboxd page for this and looking at the cast and everybody in the movie, from Simu Liu to Kate McKinnon. There's no roles. There's nobody they're cast as, except for Will Ferrell, who's listed as Toy Company CEO. And I just
he's supposed to be the I think the company's Mattel that made Barbie.
Okay,
and,
interesting.
Yeah. So there's like definitely a meta aspect to this, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I love that they also cast, what's her name? Emma Decay or something like that. She's
Emma
in
McKay, yeah.
Who looks exactly like Margot Robbie. So you have to, yeah. It's nuts.
There's so many random names I get excited to see too, like Michael Cera and Kingsley Benadir. I'm just like, what is this cast? What's going to go on? What is this movie?
Is this movie going to be a big prequel to the Lego movie?
Yo,
I'd be on board for
the
it.
Toy Cinematic Universe, the TCU,
Mr.
bro.
Business.
TCU.
Thanos.
You get a little Toy Story sprinkled in there. Start connecting the threads of the universes.
I think we're on.
Oh
something,
man,
guys.
So funny.
I think we're on to the next cinematic universe. Yeah.
Why hire Noah
universe,
Baumbach when
baby.
you have us, right?
You heard it here first. You heard it here first on the Kyber culture. but okay, that's everyone's 4s. Now we're on to 3. Hayden, let's just go back to you. What's your number 3?
Again, this is kind of going back to the whole, not sure if it's going to come out this year. It's looking a little weird, but everything I'm reading is saying 2023. So I'm going to put it on here. Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's new movie, a Western crime drama starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons, Robert De Niro, and Brendan Fraser. There's a female actress at the lead of it that I can't remember her name right now. But yeah, it's a great cast. I don't really know too much about it aside from the fact that it's pretty much about an investigation about a bunch of suspicious deaths on a indigenous reserve. And so I'm really interested to see what's going to go on here. It's being described first and foremost as a Western, and a crime Western. You give me a Martin Scorsese movie and I'm always going to be on board for it. But to give me one with this cast, I'm really excited for it. Again, I don't know too much about this movie, but there's been a couple screen grabs and stills that have released from it. And I'm just really looking forward to another movie from one of our greats.
Yes. I'm with you there. I mean, it didn't make my like you guys have been saying, it's on my top 10 movie list, but didn't make, my mixed list. After like The Irishman, after sitting through that for like 3.5 hours, I'm like, dude, I'm
It's a
ready
bit of an
for
endurance test.
Yeah, I'm ready for like hopefully a regular length movie.
Yeah. Something that's really interesting to me about this one too is the $200 million budget that he was given by Apple TV.
Wow.
Everyone's going to be de-aged. Can't wait.
If it works, I guess, right? Yeah, Jesse Plemons is someone I'm really excited to see with acting alongside this cast as well. I love the idea of him having a big opportunity like this. I think he's co-lead next to Leonardo DiCaprio, which is really interesting to me.
I love that. Okay, nice.
Sean.
Sean,
The Flower Moon is my number 4.
you mean 3? We're doing 3s
yeah,
right now,
3.
right?
My bad. Yeah, 3.
Okay.
You get so lost in the numbers at a certain point.
It's true, yeah. Sean, number 3.
My number 3, it was on Chris's list, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Much like
Volume 3 at number 3.
Yeah, weird. Oh, wow. My 2 is
Crazy.
also kind of on the nose of that.
No way.
Weird. I just noticed that now. Well, I mean, I guess it works. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And like Chris said too, Guardians are one of my favorite teams. My podcast is called Metalcore Nerds. I come from like a very heavy music type background, and a lot of it is kind of your found family rather than your blood family, which I know like a lot of people can relate to anyway. Yeah, I think that team has just always struck a chord with me. My personal Twitter used to be called, it was Metalcore Star-Lord for a long time, because I don't know, I feel like I can relate to Star-Lord in a few ways, not all the ways. And also the hate on him in Infinity War, that just means you're not a human, because if your love of your life got killed, you're not going to go crazy about it. Like, are you just, I don't know. I feel like so many people like really relinquish emotion in things when they're like critiquing a movie, which is even weirder to me, because if you're really critiquing a movie, wouldn't you take the human element and actually apply it to what you're watching? But I digress. But this trailer looks this trailer made me emotional. Not a lot of trailers have done that, but I guess Marvel has lately. Like that first Wakanda Forever trailer really moved me, and
beautiful.
This one, I was just, if Rocket dies in this movie, you're going to need to stretcher me out of this fucking thing. I swear, like Marvel's trying to kill me. Lately, in these last couple of years, like you go to a theater and you're like, well, I'm crying. Like you just know what's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, it's just part of the process at this point.
Yeah. So, and if you want to hear the future, what I might think the future of the Guardians team might be, I recorded a nice episode with Lance from Comic Book Keepers where we kind of speculated who might join the team and who might leave the team, who might die, like a few weeks ago. It was right after the trailer dropped, actually. We talked about the holiday special, the trailer, and then what the future of the Guardians might be. And yeah, I'm so stoked for this movie. I just think what James Gunn has done with the superhero genre in general since he made his debut in this medium with Guardians, I think it's all hits, no misses. I know some people are like weirdly critical of Guardians Volume 2, but I think they all forget about that incredibly emotional moment he lands on with Yondu in Volume 2. And I've seen a lot of people revisit it and be like, wow, this movie is actually like insanely emotional and good. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Some people I don't know. It's a weird thing too, where if the internet collectively hates on something, you kind of like grasp onto what the internet says rather than like you almost like lose your own opinion sometimes. I've seen a lot of people kind of revisit it and be like, oh wow, this movie actually is really good. So if he closes out with like a killer finale, which it kind of seems like it's going to be, then it can be another strong trilogy in the MCU of like 3 wins. Can't wait to see what he does. And then off to DC land for him to take over, which I'm also stoked about because I'm a James Gunn fan. Apparently people who only like Snyder movies can't grasp that people can like other things than what one person did.
The Snyder fans are also struggling to grasp onto the fact that he's clearly got a vision that comes out of a place of love and passion for these characters in this world, and to ignore him just because he's made some decisions that they don't like it's very weird to me. Yeah,
I've seen so many. Oh, the Suicide Squad was just a Marvel movie in DC, and I'm like, I don't know what movie you watched, but yeah, sure.
The level of violence in that completely separates it from Marvel off the bat anyways. But
even the way the movie's structured and written is completely different than anything he's done in the medium. So I'm like, sure, but I'm not going to change your mind. So
I'll let you have it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's your opinion and, rolling with it.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, Jane, happy for you. But no, James Gunn definitely brings like this sentiment and heart to his movies. So yeah, Guardians 3 is probably going to break us, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Bring on the tears.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Chris?
Number 3. So if it wasn't clear or obvious already, I am a massive, massive, massive Star Wars fan. So going back to TV, I have Mando season 3 is in my number 3, season 3, my number 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well.
I know some fans feel some type of way for having 2 stories in the Book of Boba Fett center around Mando and Grogu. It's what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are doing with live action television. They are building a shared universe, which is Star Wars has always been is one universe, but we're finally tying together the timelines, events, different characters. It would make sense for them to meet if they were around during this time. Like who's around 6 years after the events of Return of the Jedi? These characters. So it makes sense for Ahsoka and Luke to meet finally, which was just a massive win, including the lore of the Darksaber. It must be won in combat or else you have no true claim to it. That's going to play a role in season 3. Bo-Katan versus Din Djarin. I think they're going to have to fight. So far, the way it's written in the lore and the rules, right now they have to fight, but we'll see how it plays out. Sindari, the capital city of Mandalore in live action, decimated by the Empire, is going to be... I might have mixed feelings. I'll be happy to see Sindari in live action, but I'll be sad to see it decimated and destroyed. And of course, all the Mandalorians with Ahsoka coming up. Will Sabine Wren make an appearance in Mando season 3? That's very intriguing to me as well. In Rebels, she had her own arc with the Darksaber, which was phenomenal. She goes back to Sindari and Mandalore for her own reasons with her family. So there's just so much going into season 3 of Mandalore, about The Mandalorian, that has me excited. The show came to us after a time where the sequel trilogy just caused such great division in the Star Wars fan base. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they really brought back the magic and the old school love of Star Wars with Mandalorian. I haven't heard anyone complain about this show. Season 2 was the ultimate reward for a Star Wars fan or any fan who's been tuning in to Star Wars television since 2008. Everything we've seen in animation now matters in live action. It's just the ultimate payoff. So season 3 of The Mandalorian rounds out my top 3.
I love it. If we were talking TV only, because spoilers, but Mando is not in my remaining 3.
Same.
But no, Mando season 3 is up there. Not to knock it, but Mando season 3 is up there. But my season. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you made it a challenge by making it 5 and 5, because if it was just 10, if it was 10 movies, I would have had no problem with this. I would have just gone all the way through it. But incorporating TV in it and kind of trying to shuffle it up has it's complicated what I knew my list as previously.
Yeah.
Mando season 3 was in my top 10 of TV, 100%. I love the show, and if what they did with Din Djarin in the Book of Boba Fett is a precedent for what this season is going to be, I think is going to be one of the most epic seasons of Star Wars anything, because regardless of how you feel about why those episodes are there, that's some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten.
Some of the best.
Those episodes.
Absolutely.
I remember when I saw Ahsoka come up in first debut in The Mandalorian season 2, and I was like, man, if one day they even have a conversation about like Luke, or one day she meets Luke, and then it fucking happened. And I was like, dude, I cannot.
It was like a dream. It was a dream. I was like,
literally, that episode is like a fucking fever dream of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, every next scene, you're like, how is this real?
Yeah. I remember watching these episodes because when Marvel and Star Wars shows were coming out, and like I feel like the next episode of whatever was running was going to be big, I always like woke up at like 4 a.m. to watch the new episode. Yeah. And when this episode of Book of Boba Fett came out, like, it was like the Mando episodes of Book of Boba Fett. I was just laying in bed, like half asleep, but in my head, like I was just laying there dead, just watching it. But in my head, I was like, let's fucking go.
Like, am I still dreaming right now?
Yeah, no, for real. This shit was crazy. But yeah, so I'm gonna toss out my number 3. We already talked about it. It's a show. It's Ahsoka. I am because there is a lot of talk. Like everyone says that this is gonna be Dave Filoni's quote unquote magnum opus, right? And I'm just like, okay, Dave Filoni already created great stuff with Clone Wars and Rebels, and honestly, at the heart of both of those shows is like his original character, Ahsoka Tano. So I think there's nothing like, I don't think he will, like, there's no way that he disappoints making a live action show about like his original character. You know what I mean? I think it's just going to be fucking fantastic. I hear it's going to be like it's supposed to be like a samurai type show where Ahsoka's just kind of journeying through and trying to find out what's going on with Thrawn. You know what I mean? And Rosario Dawson's great as Ahsoka. And I don't know how they're going to incorporate Hayden Christensen into this, but he is in the show as well. And I'm looking forward to how they do that. Whether it be flashbacks or if he comes in as a Force ghost, like either way, I'm pumped for it. Ahsoka is my number 3. But yeah, so now we're going to top 2. Chris, let's go with you.
Oh man, we just talked about it. It's Ahsoka.
Yeah. Nice.
I love it. Love it.
I love Star Wars so much. I'll try not to echo everything that Joe just said. Ahsoka Tano is, since 2008, has been Dave Filoni's baby, and Dave Filoni is the heir apparent to George Lucas. So yes, everything going into this live action series feels very special. Spoilers for Rebels, where it ends is an epilogue. It's a time jump, because after they liberate Lothal from the Empire, and Ezra and Thrawn shoot off into the unknown regions with the Purrgil, the space whales that can do light speed travel. It's a big mystery as to what happens next. So in the epilogue, Sabine is telling us what happened to the team, who's where, and it just ends with this. And we now have a live action shot that was released of the mural of the Phoenix Squadron and the Ghost Crew. And she's looking at the mural. She turns around, and Ahsoka has this sage white garb staff thing, and they're gonna go find Ezra. So that's what's exciting about Ahsoka. It's essentially a live action Rebels season 5. And there's no way. We had a lot of hype for the Kenobi series, and I loved it. It wasn't everything I thought it was going to be, as far as like overall execution. I don't think we'll have any disappointments with this series. I think Dave Filoni knows exactly what he wants to do with it. I'm excited for a live action Sabine Wren. The actress they casted looks just like her. The actor they cast for Ezra looks just like Ezra. The fans, we all called for Rosario Dawson to be live action Ahsoka, and
That was the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like Boss Logic put out this art of Rosario Dawson, and then next thing you know, she's live action Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Yo,
like
what?
that, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's not like the Marvel thing where, oh, you guys asked for John Krasinski, so here he is, Reed Richards. Done. Ahsoka is my number 2. I cannot wait for this show. This is going to be something very special. I cannot wait for Ahsoka.
Yeah, no, I just want to comment on the mural real quick, because the mural itself is such a trip to think about. Because the mural was in Rebels, right?
Yes,
the mural
the last
was in
scene,
Rebels.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the shot that you're talking about, Chris, we get the same mural.
Yes.
But it's in quote unquote live action.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the mural of the characters animated, but it's like live action Sabine looking at it.
Yeah.
So it's like
Dude.
It's
I'm like, wait, what? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it though. It's awesome.
I know.
Apparently, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's playing Hera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
holy shit! What casting that is? Are you serious?
And I feel like, because aren't Ewan McGregor and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, they're
Yes.
together, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's makes
That's
sense.
Star Wars power couple right there.
Yeah.
Star Wars power couple indeed.
This just barely didn't make my list. I'm incredibly hyped for this show, despite the fact that I haven't seen Rebels. I'm just a fan of the character, and I'm a big fan of Rosario Dawson's performance. The episode that we had with her was pretty much a mini Star Wars Kurosawa movie. And so the fact that you had mentioned that they're going for a very much like a samurai approach to it, I think is perfect, because so much of what Star Wars was influenced by was those early on samurai movies. And
Absolutely.
to use Ahsoka as
And they're very much open about that,
right, yeah, and to use Ahsoka as a vessel to like kind of go full in on that, and to kind of use that narrative device too, I think is really, really interesting. I can't wait to see it.
It's gonna be great. But okay, Sean, let's go with you next.
So my number 2 was also on both Hayden and Chris's list. Dune Part 2
Nice.
at number 2.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the first one. I actually read maybe like a quarter of the first book, which ended up being like half of the first movie. So I still was surprised of what came after, but it did help me have like a ground base of terminology and names. So that was pretty nice to have that down prior to the movie. Not to like have it be such like an info dump of learning. It was like kind of like watching Game of Thrones, where you're like, okay, here's 50 characters and all these houses and shit like that. So that's what it's kind of felt like that in ways, but I already kind of had like a head start with that, and it kind of made me not want to read anymore, because I was like, I'll see what happens in the movies. Not to like repeat what you guys said, but what Denis did for this, like visually and everything, it's just crazy. It's so insane. I was glad that it ended up taking the most Oscar wins, even though it was a lot of technical stuff that got announced like during the red carpet and stuff like that. But it felt like kind of like a small victory over Denis not getting nominated for Best Director, even though it was nominated for Best Picture. It felt like a tiny victory in that. So hopefully next year he gets his flowers, at least for a nom for that. It's hard to tell how those races are going to be, because we have no idea what the Oscar baity movies are going to end up being. I'm sure the Scorsese movie will end up being one for sure, like a massive front runner, even not even knowing much about it. It already is, especially with that cast being what it is. I'm glad that movies like this are getting that kind of attention, and I hope they continue to get more, because I feel like they deserve to. It's just as much as film or cinema as anything else is. Regardless, they're still telling stories that are compelling and people are emotionally invested in. Like, what more do you want out of movies than that? I have way more fun talking about how a movie made me feel than, oh yeah, like the screenplay was so dead on. Like, I don't know shit about fucking writing screenplay, so who am I to comment on a screenplay? I can say something looked cool. Doesn't mean I'm an expert in cinematography. I play music. Doesn't mean I know how to compose a score for a movie. But I can say that it sounded good, cool, but I'm not going to have some technical conversation about composing with someone, So it's like movies that make you feel something, or like escape and dive into these worlds that people create for you is such an amazing thing. And Dune definitely did that. It was one of my favorite movies of that year when it came out, and just because I was so amazed with what it did and the world it created, and I can't wait to see where it's going from here. I know they're hopeful that, because this is supposed to close book 1, And I think his plan is to do a trilogy and adapt the second book, because I know that's kind of
I
like
hope
Paul
so.
Atreides' full story is the first 2 books, and the rest is kind of like weird and involves his children. And I heard it gets really fucking out there and shit like that. But I hope at least he gets to do his trilogy. And I know it was kind of like a worry of like we might not even get part 2, even though the movie opens with part 1, you know, and you're like, oh.
Yeah,
I hope we finish this.
I
I
vividly remember that anxiety of like finishing that movie, getting that part 1 title card, and just being like, "But they haven't announced part 2 yet." It was a stressful feeling.
Yeah,
It was a result of the time, you know, like it was still
Pandemic.
like people
Still, yeah.
pandemic people
also
still
got
are
released
going to
on
movies,
HBO
yeah.
Max at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was one of those movies where I was glad it was also on HBO Max at the same time, because immediately after I saw it in theaters, I watched it at home.
We watched it that night. My wife Sam and I were so blown away by it that we put it on when we got home.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for part 2. Tim Sham, baby.
I'm gonna just go out and say that my number 2 is also Dune Part 2.
Let's go.
Like, I mean, like what with all you guys had already said, Denis just gets you immersed into the world. That was the great thing about watching it. Like the theater experience is bar none, and this is one of those movies that is like you need to see it in theaters on the biggest screen possible.
Mm-hmm.
And like seeing it in IMAX is just absolutely ridiculous. Like good sound, huge screen, like just being in space just fucking rocked. But yeah, so I'm curious to see where they go. We've already talked about Austin Butler quite a bit, so I don't need to comment on Austin Butler.
Mama, we need the spice.
Oh no!
Jesus.
All the trade. Where's the spies?
Oh
You guys are
man, but no.
manifesting this into existence, and I hate that.
It's our bad. By the
You know,
time we get the movie, he's already
keep putting
Elvis.
it. Yeah, no, we keep putting it into the universe. It's mostly our fault.
I'm going to say that he does not sound like that in this movie, just to kind of.
I hope so.
I hope you're right.
Where's the spice, Paul? Give me the spice.
God, it's going to turn into fucking David Lynch's.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That makes it-
You know how to rat a worm, Paul. Anyways, but yeah, no, Dune Part 2 is my number 2. But no, the other additions of the cast, Christopher Walken, Florence Pugh, it sounds awesome. Can't fucking wait. But yeah, no, I would love for them to, because for now, like you said, Sean, it's just Dune Part 1 and 2, but I do hope they make like a third and do Dune Messiah. That I think that's like the third part of it. And yeah, no, after Dune Messiah, I hope they stop, because they also have their HBO Max show. I'm not trying to see, but the HBO Max show is supposed to be about the Bene Gesserit, so that sounds pretty sweet. But I don't want to see like Paul Atreides' kids, like God Emperor Dune. I don't know if you guys know anything about this, but one of his kids ends up turning into like half sandworm, half human. And I'm just like, I don't know how that's going to translate on screen, guys. Like, I mean, maybe, but it sounds a little too much.
Yeah, that's certainly an idea. Yeah, that's a weird
like,
concept.
There are ideas in the world, and this is definitely one of them. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Doom Part 2, my number 2. But Hayden, number
2 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Hell yes.
I cannot wait for this movie. I've rewatched Into the Spider-Verse so many times. It's kind of become something of a comfort movie. But every time I watch it, I'm reminded of how just remarkable the animation is, how fantastic the voice acting is, the way that they go about setting up such a bizarre concept and making it feel like it's something that you were just able to easily digest just straight from the get-go is crazy. We as Spider-Man fans were Spider-Man live action fans, we're so used to like very singular stories up until No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse, and to give you this bizarre movie where it immediately just throws all this at the wall and it works so well was something I was so blown away by. And it's really just the most effective Spider-Man movie for me in regards to setting up the message of anybody can be Spider-Man, right? It's not just Peter Parker. It goes so much deeper and further than that. To use the sequel to really get into every single universe and to have hundreds or thousands of Spider-Man from the universes is something I'm excited to see expand upon that first one. The animation looks like they've really pushed the boundaries of what they were going for with that first one. I just can't wait for it. I think it's going to be such a fantastic ride. Spending more time with Miles and all the other characters that were at the center of that first one too, and kind of continuing their story arc through the vessel of all these other Spider-Man is something I'm really looking forward to seeing. And so, yeah, this movie's just been something I've been waiting for since the first one came out. And when it got delayed, I had no objections. I wasn't frustrated. I was immediately like, yeah, get this right. You got to nail this. And I'm confident that they will. I think that it's going to be fantastic.
Nice. It's a good choice. So that brings us to number one. And I'm going to just start us off with number one, mostly because Hayden just talked about it. But my number one is Across the Spider-Verse. And mostly for everything that you just said, I just want to repeat it. Like the delay, I was like, this was the delay that I heard and I was just so like chill about, because I was like, okay, like I know that like the animation stuff, you know, it's like, it's a bummer I can't see it, but I know that they're working on like perfecting everything. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I can't wait to see what the final product is. And like, to repeat something that we were talking about earlier, like the first Spider-Verse movie, it was just such a surprise in that year, mostly because like that was the same year that Infinity War came out. And I thought I was tapped out of fucking superhero movies because like I almost went into it like doubting it, like, okay, I'm not going to like this more than Infinity War. But I was like, just so pleasantly surprised. And like, because, you know, like Sony has their little streak of like Spider-Man movies. And after watching this, I was just like, holy fuck, like no fucking way this happened. But I fucking love the Spider-Verse movies. I always know I really like something if I purchase it to have it in my own library. Yeah, no, I can't wait to see like where they take Miles' story, how they introduce Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man 2099 and all these other variants. Like, I mean, we have the PlayStation Spider-Man here, and I'm just like, that's one of my favorite games. Like, I still play fucking PlayStation Spider-Man all the time. Can't wait for the sequel of that game. And I'm wondering if like, are they gonna like somehow rope in the Spider-Verse story into the game? But I don't think so. But that would be fucking nuts. Like have it be like a playable mission or something. That'd be insanity. But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse is my number one, and I'm fucking pumped for it.
Oscar Isaac.
Go ahead.
I cannot wait to see him in this role. I've always been intrigued by Spider-Man 2099, but like a character
because he looks fucking cool.
Oh, he's just so cool looking, you know, like anybody who's a fan of Spider-Man, you see that suit and you're like, fuck yeah. So to have Oscar Isaac play that character, and really just as you and I had kind of mentioned, just to push that concept of what they did with the first one so much further and just to really go for it. I just can't wait to see what they do with it.
Yeah, same here. But okay, your guys' number ones. Chris, let's go with you. What's your number one?
Number one, we officially all have this movie on our list. Our number one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yo!
Yeah.
Love it.
Across the Spider-Verse.
He's proving it.
Just in case no one, 2018. It was December 14th, 2018 was its release date. And Into the Spider-Verse is a perfect movie. I give it 5 stars on Letterboxd. I have no flaws with it. It's easy to compare it to No Way Home. The more I think about No Way Home, a movie I love, the more I feel like it's a little messy how they got the characters into the MCU, if I think about it too hard. Whereas Into the Spider-Verse, the collider is on and there's a Spider-Man at the center of it, so it pulls more Spider-Man. It's cut clear sense. It's perfect. The animation style is next level. You know, I'm trying not to echo everything, but it's hard not to. Learning about how they they succeeded in animating Miles Morales at 12 frames per second instead of 24. You know, and as the movie continues, he picks up and becomes the Spider-Man. They update
becomes more fluid.
Yeah, his becomes more fluid. Yeah, it's the detail. Lord and Miller, you know, after they lose their Star Wars job, they win an Oscar. So like it's it's an amazing journey for them. Penny Parker, I'm pretty sure Koei Jandro, he confirmed there's only one comic about this obscure Spider-Man from the year 3000 whatever, who has like a psychic link. Nicolas Cage isn't returning as Spider-Man Noir, but he was such a treat in that movie. And this trailer for Across the Spider-Verse is gorgeous. I am intrigued about the relationship between Miles Morales and Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, because this man, 2099, he's such a feral Spider-Man. He has claws, he has fangs, he's angry, he's like scratching up Miles and choke slamming him. I don't know why. I am fascinated. It has something to do with jumping around universes. It's making people angry. It's making the Spider-Verse angry because in that trailer, there's a bunch of different Spider-Man all focusing on Miles and just coming for him. So yeah, there's Spidey Punk, there's 2099, there's Spider-Gwen, there's Spider-Ling, there's the PS4 Spider-Man, there's everyone. This movie the first movie was a precursor, and now with its success, winning Best Animated Film at the Oscars, it's just blowing up, and they're not holding anything back. It's difficult to capture lightning in a bottle a second time. I have faith that they can do it. This movie is going to be something special.
And I think there will be like, not only is it like a crazy multiverse story, but I think there is also going to be like some heart at the center of it, just because like the teaser that we got was mostly just Miles talking to his mom.
Yeah.
Know? That's the entire conversation. That's all the dialogue that's in it.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And it's just his mom saying, take care of that little boy who I love so much, because the world is kind of big, and I just want to make sure you're okay. And everything she's saying alludes to the Spider-Verse. I know you found your place. I know you have friends, but make sure you take care of that little boy that I love so much, because it's a very big, vast world, and not everyone out there has your best interest. I'm paraphrasing, but it was that kind of conversation. It was a clear parallel to what we're going to see in the movie regarding Miles's journey as it continues. And also, I love the fact that it's part one, like guaranteeing there's more to come, because I love everything that Lord and Miller are doing with this world in particular and this character.
Nice. Sean.
My number one, it's a TV show. It's weird because I've seen the first episode at this point.
Oh, yo.
But my number one is The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And a little precursor, little disclaimer. Today is Saturday, January 14th. The Last of Us premieres tomorrow, January 15th. So
yeah, so I was lucky enough. I went to this special fan screening on Thursday and got to see the first episode in this awesome immersive experience that they bring you in as a Firefly recruit. And I got a little Firefly pendant and this box of popcorn that had a Fedra label on it that they handed out as rations. I took a picture in front of this fake clicker and stuff. It was incredible. And then I got to see the first episode on a theater screen. And then the next day I ended up getting emailed that I got the first episode as a screener too. So probably going to watch it again before it comes out tomorrow. And it's just, if you're a fan of the game, if you're not a fan of the game, I don't think it matters. But I think anyone who is a fan of the game, this is going to be a gold standard for adaptations moving forward, especially video game adaptations, because what they do with this, and again, it's kind of like Robert Kirkman being so involved with Invincible. Neil Druckmann, who created the game The Last of Us, is a executive producer, and he helped write the story. It's like him and Craig Mazin. It's their show. And you can tell the love they put into this. Pedro Pascal as Joel is pitch perfect. Bella Ramsey as Ellie is pitch perfect. I know a lot of people had doubts because she doesn't look like Ellie. Whatever, it's not about looks, it's about character. And she
it was looking like Ellie, and the fact that she didn't play the game. I'm just
because we got to take these clickbait headline articles and just start ignoring them, because straight up, even in interviews, they're like, they asked me not to play the game, and she's like, I still watched playthroughs and stuff like that just so I had a frame of reference. But she acts just like Ellie. It is insane. If they are just going off direction and her executing it that way, then she killed it. She's snarky just like her. She's smart just like her. It is insane. Again, what Pedro Pascal brings to Joel is nuts. And it's a pretty much one-to-one adaptation of the game. They do change some things in the middle of kind of point A to point B kind of things, but it's still the general story. I think it's going to be one of the biggest TV shows of the year, straight up. This is going to be a phenomenon. HBO has a massive hit on their hands, and if you aren't familiar with the game, this first episode is going to punch you in the gut so fucking hard. I can tell you that, and it's not even enough to explain to you, because I knew it was going to happen, and I was still crying by the time I knew it was coming came. And that's only the beginning of this, let alone if we get to part two. Part two is one of the most emotional, draining experiences in a story I have ever witnessed in my entire life.
If I may, since it lines up, my number one is The Last of Us as well.
Yo.
I mean, so here on the dive in, we mainly talk about movies. We never really get into TV shows. Sometimes we do if it's something that we like that resonated enough with us, but primarily our focus is movies. And a couple days ago, I announced that I'm going to be doing a weekly recap series talking about The Last of Us, which is kind of my first foray into like talking TV weekly with each episode. And that's because Last of Us is like maybe the most important story to me of all time.
Wow.
I'm in love with it. I've played the first game at least 10 times. I've played the second game at least 5 times. And that says a lot because it's a very draining experience to play that second game. But long, yeah. While you were saying all that, I obviously haven't seen the episode yet, and I was just like fist pumping silently on this call because hearing that it's such a victory lap for fans of the game, but also for people who are being introduced into it for the first time is so rewarding for me as a fan. And so I just can't wait. I can't wait to talk about it each week. I'm so thrilled to hear that everybody has nailed their performances, that the writing is so respectful to the source material, and just that it's such a win for HBO and for TV in general. I'm so thrilled that this starts tomorrow, and I truly can't wait.
Yes, some of the criticisms I saw were that it is too much like the game from critics who have seen like the full seasons and stuff.
That's a silly criticism, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, isn't that what everyone's been asking for with video game adaptations for years?
Right. If they had changed everything up, people would have been even more mad. So
yeah, I think the only people who are like mega fans of the game who are going to hate this are people who already were going into it going to hate it, and that's the only reason. Because I do not see anyone who like legitimately loves this game and watches this and goes, "This is terrible." Like I cannot fathom that. It does not make sense in my brain. Like this is going to be peak TV.
Doesn't compute.
And I expected this. Again, it's HBO.
Yeah, Craig Mazin too.
Yeah, and Neil Druckmann being directly involved. Like, there's no way this could miss in my brain. And they took my ungodly high expectations and maybe even surpassed them. Like, I don't know. As soon as you hit, like, the opening scene is so cool, and it's not probably what you think. The way it starts is a little different, but it lays the groundwork for what's to come in the entire, like, the whole crux of the show. And when that opening scene hits or the opening credits hit with the music, you are going to get goosebumps. It's an instant, never skip intro easily.
Ooh,
and
I love a good never skip intro.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it is so fucking good. I was so hyped when they were playing it. And if you're a fan of the music in the game, well, good news, because it's the same composer who did the show.
Oh, let's go.
And HBO has the trademark of taking a good main theme and always incorporating it in those very dramatic moments of the show. They did it with White Lotus. They did it with The Leftovers. They do it all the time. And this is going to be another one, because when stuff gets, you feel the tension rising, that sad ass guitar riff comes in, and you're like, here we go. I think you're going to be very pleased. If you're not, I will legitimately be shocked.
Yeah, no, I think I already know I'm going to love it. I think based on the fact that the people talking about it have such a respect for the source material, and Neil Druckmann directly involved in it is just so important to getting this story right, and to nailing the humanity of those two lead characters. So I can't wait. And it's one of those things where I run out of words and I just start spinning around on the same point over and over, because I'm so excited for it. It's really like, it's easily my number one. And I'm not the biggest TV guy, but this makes the top of my list, just like of the entire year. I'm so thrilled that it's coming out tomorrow.
Nice. Wow. Well, there you go. Our number ones: 2 Across the Spider-Verse and 2 for The Last of Us.
Look at
Very
that.
cool.
There we go.
Look at that. Wow.
Clean.
Love it.
But damn. Okay. Nice. That's going to do it for episode 110. That was a solid one, guys. A lot of fun. A lot of good recs in here for folks that maybe are looking for something to watch in this upcoming year. But that's going to do it for episode 110. I would like to take some time real quick for you guys to plug your shows. So, Sean, let's go with you first. Plug your socials. Anything?
Yes. Yeah. So my show, Metalcore Nerds, it's a show where I take on people mostly from the music community. So probably heavy bands if you're into that kind of thing, or even not heavy bands. And I take them on, and usually when they're promoting something like a new album or a tour, and they come and they talk about pop culture instead of their band. I do have podcast guests on. I've had Joe on and stuff like that. So it is a mix of both. But yeah, it's just mainly a pop culture podcast. I do a song of the week every week. So if you're looking for new music, you get new music. And then we have our Now Watching section where we recommend what we've been watching lately. So and then we have a main topic that's centered on something, and big shock for the next like 9 weeks, it's going to be a Last of Us podcast. So It is
Nice.
what it is. That's just how it's going to be. You can find it at Metalcore Nerds everywhere. You can go to metalcorenerds.com. All of our links are there. It actually premieres on the Adobe Howl radio station every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can download the Adobe app or just go to adobe.com and stream it there. But if you can't catch it live, it's just on every major podcasting platform right after it airs.
Chris, what about you?
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. I am Chris, one half of the Black Stubs. It's just a platform my friend Sam and I made for ourselves just to be open and nerdy and passionate about the shows, TV, movies, video games, comics that we love. So you can follow us on Instagram at @the_Black Stubs, Twitter, TikTok at the Black Stubs, Letterboxd at Mr. Chris Officer, and if you type in the Black Stubs in the Spotify, you can find our podcast. So listen.
Hell yeah. And Hayden, let's hear from you. You've been
yeah,
on here multiple times, but go for it.
If you've listened to the show, you might know, but you can find us on Instagram at the Dive In Moviecast, at Letterboxd, it's Hayden Koutras, Twitter at Dive In Moviecast, all the regular social medias and everything like that. I'm one half of the Dive In Moviecast as well, so Wesley's not here, but yeah, I guess I'll plug also, starting tomorrow, I'm going to be doing the Look for the Light recap series each Monday, so I'm really looking forward to having some guests on for that, talking The Last of Us each week, continuing to talk movies every Monday as well. We're going to have 2 episodes coming out every week for the next couple months, so we're going all in on this, so I'm looking forward to it, and it's always a pleasure being here, Joe.
It was great having you guys. Like I said earlier, this is the first time I had 3 other people on at the same time. Fucking 4 folks on the pod. It was a lot of fun. But folks, that's going to do it for episode 110. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow the Kyber Culture on all socials. And until episode 111, we will catch you guys next time. So peace.